Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 8th meeting for the Grants Advisory Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Secretary Blanco, can you call roll?
Yes, good evening. Temporary Chair Haywood,
Here.
Commissioner Acosta, Commissioner Carroll,
Here.
Commissioner Kriz,
Here.
Commissioner Meeks Harris,
Here.
Commissioner Parker,
Here.
Commissioner Reed,
Here.
and Youth Commissioner Harry Haran.
Here.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Let's all rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll now open for public comments. Public comments are for items not listed on the agenda. Secretary Blanco, could you please read the procedures for us?
Sure. Citizens addressing the commission during public comment are asked to approach the podium and are limited to 3 minutes unless extended by the chair, and must be regarding items that are not listed on the agenda and are within the city's jurisdiction. The Brown Act does not permit any action or discussion on items not listed on the agenda. No action will be taken on items addressed under public comment.
Open for public comment. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Moving on to our next agenda item, minutes of the July 11th meeting. Like discussion, if anybody has any discussion or changes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Reed, second the motion.
You make the motion.
The motion. So excited. I, Commissioner Reed, make the motion to approve the minutes as they are.
Commissioner Meeks Harris, second that.
Fantastic. Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion? Motion carried. Moving on to our next agenda item, I'd like to open a discussion for selecting and appointing a chair and vice chair for the upcoming fiscal 24-25 funding cycle. I'll entertain a discussion and nominees, potential nominees.
I have a nomination, but I don't know whether we should discuss first.
Maybe a little bit about the roles. I think chair facilitates the meeting, vice chair is there in the stead that the chair's not there to provide backup. It's basically to lead the meeting and keep
Yeah.
things in order. So
And we had, I think when you and I were in these roles, we had started meeting with Tricia, but then it may move to Toby, before each meeting, just to kind of have a rundown, just to know what to expect. And I think that was helpful. So it's not required, but that's an option for the chair and vice chair if they'd like.
I'll chime in. That is very helpful to have that meeting, or at least touch bases beforehand. We did that. Haven't been chair for a long time, but yeah, that was done with their Trish's predecessors as well.
yeah, I was sharing that when I was in the chair position, it was during the COVID days, so everything was Zoom and the confusion that caused. But yeah, so it's a great opportunity to get a little bit more involved for those that are interested.
And you do work very closely with staff, so you're not up here alone. I have a script. I mean, I could do it without a script, but it's nice to have the script. So you have all of us to help as well.
Yeah.
A little louder.
Can I make a nomination? Commissioner Vanessa Reed, are you interested? I'd like to nominate Commissioner Reed as chair if she's interested.
I had a feeling this was coming. And, I'm okay with that.
And it's nice because you've been around for several cycles now and have that experience, and
Right.
you've been a great contributor to the commission in prior years. So that's I would be very pleased if that's something you would like to do and ends up working out.
Yeah. I'm open to that unless anyone has strong interest.
I'm not seeing anybody like clamoring for the chair position. So moving on to the vice chair, essentially, like Commissioner Chris said, the chair's right-hand person fills in if the chair can't be here. If there are recusals, usually during the workshop, the speaking responsibilities rotate between the chair and the vice chair. Nothing super heavy lifting. The vice chair can also potentially serve on as a go person on any committee, subcommittees we might form. But other than that, it's a right-hand person.
Yes. And just for etiquette, so Commissioner Acosta probably wouldn't be eligible for a nomination.
She's eligible. I don't know without her consent if you want to necessarily appoint her to that position.
Well,
Was
everybody
she
knows that when you don't come to the meeting, that's when you get the assignments.
And she was excused tonight. You guys knew that she wasn't, or is there a chance she may still be coming?
I didn't hear anything, so I think there's a chance she still might be coming.
Okay, then.
Anybody interested in being nominated to be the vice chair?
I guess I would be willing to be considered, but I want to make sure, because I've been in that role before, that if there's anyone else that would be interested in the opportunity, it's a great way to jump in the pool a little bit.
I'll do it.
Okay? Do it. Commissioner Parker?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I would nominate Commissioner Parker for the role as vice chair.
Okay, first I've got to open for public comments, and then I'll entertain a motion.
A motion. Okay.
Yes. So go ahead and open public comment if anyone has any comments about this agenda item. I am seeing no, so I will close public comment, and I will entertain a motion. Actually, Secretary Blanco, could you read the motion, please? She wrote one out for us.
Okay. So do we have a motion on the selection of our new commission chair as Vanessa Reed? Anyone want to make a motion? Oh, I guess I could do the whole
It's
thing.
all of it.
And vice chair of Neva Parker.
Yeah, I'm happy to move Vanessa Reed be our next chair for the Grants Commission, and that Commissioner Neva Parker be the vice chair for the coming grant cycle.
I will second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Great. Motion passes.
No, so
And you have it effective tonight. In the past, we've
it's
moved that to other
immediately
meetings.
effective.
supposed to be last.
Oh, my,
Movement of chairs? Yes, and can you move your name tag with you?
Now for the musical chairs portion of our meeting.
you go to right here.
I was gonna. That one.
Unless you want it.
No, I'm okay. This is my original. And just smack me if I turn my back to you.
That's actually the hard part.
Yeah.
so I take it from here, I move to the next agenda item. Thank you for color coding that for me. So our next agenda item is 6.2, the work plan funding cycle calendar. So the staff has asked us to review and look at the draft and if there's any changes as needed. So I'd like to open that up for discussion now. Everyone has a copy of it.
Do we need to move the agenda items for elect chair and vice chair and adopt the work plan, the 24-25 work plan to August, since we are having an August meeting now?
Amend it.
Oh. I can update that once you guys decide and we get a final copy. This was just what was moved over from last meeting, so yeah, that will reflect the new dates.
Okay.
But really, we're interested in moving forward the elements that are needed to make sure that everything gets administered. Okay. And on the October 10th meeting, have we done that where we're actually reviewing the reports? Approve the year-end summary reports from the previous year?
We had a document that we put together, and I can chat with you guys about that, because I'd love to make sure that that keeps going. And it was available last meeting. You guys had okay. So for the new ones that come in at the end of August, we do put that together. That's relatively new, but I don't think we spent a lot of time. We just kind of looked at it. We didn't really go through it item by item or anything, although if people had questions about it, we could.
But that would be a single item agenda on October 10th to go over that.
It would.
Okay?
I have a comment or two, not specifically on that, but if you were looking if you felt like having one meeting for just that wasn't necessary and we could move it to something else, I had another thought or two, but.
I just don't remember that specific item, or it was probably an element of another meeting.
Oh,
As
absolutely.
opposed to
It
not a
was.
specific meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a meeting on its own just for that. You're right.
And I'm okay with that. It seems that,
I would rather have a longer meeting and have.
and have another
than
one.
have just one meeting for,
Yeah.
Agenda
And-
item.
And we could move it potentially to November. I don't think we could move it to September because they're due at the end of August and it takes some time to put it together, plus the agenda has to be out in advance, so.
So maybe a November 14th item and do that as part of the roles, responsibilities of the applicant workshop.
Or it could just be a separate item on the
A
agenda for
separate-
November.
It would be in there, yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems to fit okay.
yeah, I agree.
So eliminate the October 10th meeting.
Before we go there, I had a couple questions on this. One was for the, and I know we're kind of skipping here, but I just want to go in chronological order, I guess. For the presentations in the September meeting, would these include that, we called it the bonus round, but that extra ARPA money that was provided to recipients in December? I don't remember, do they have a whole year to spend? So would we include them or would we wait?
So speaking of the ARPA funds, they will not be included in that presentation.
Okay.
Generally, they would be presenting in January because their final reporting ends December 31st. However, they're going to be in the middle of the application period.
Right. So we'd have to pick them up the following September.
That or, yes, you guys can decide when but it can't be during the application period.
Agreed. That's why I was
So-
wondering, even though the cycle isn't done, would it be appropriate to invite those people too? But
That's
I
truly up
would-
to you guys.
I would like to see them. I mean, even though that they're not done spending the money, it would be an opportunity for them to come in and share what the money is being used for as they're implementing their goals that were outlined in the ARPA funding. And we just need to make sure that we specify which funding source it was in regards to completed versus,
yeah.
I think just give an opportunity, because this is one of the things that came out of the needs assessment was, first of all, many people weren't aware of this funding source that was available. And the second thing was the community was not aware of the great things that were being done in the community through the grant funding. So this was an opportunity to be able to highlight those, and I would not want to miss them in having an opportunity to come in and presenting what they're doing in the community.
Yeah. No, I support that. I don't know if other commissioners have strong feelings if they haven't finished spending their money or finished their cycle, if there's a concern about them coming and sharing midstream, so to speak.
We sort of got a preview of that last month during the check presentations. I mean, obviously, they talked about how they were going to use the funds moving forward, yet at the same time, some of them are, multiple year recipients, so they gave us a flavor. I like having them inviting everybody. I would presume we're going to limit the amount of time that they're allowed to present. Okay, then I don't have a problem with it. Sit here for 3 hours. And actually, they were really good last month. They kept their remarks very short and sweet, so.
They were already invited for September 12th, and it did say 5 minutes maximum. So there is, I believe, 21
Oh, wow, awesome.
applications.
Oh, I thought you meant
That's from the
had already
22,
responded.
23, just your
Yeah.
normal funding cycle. ARPA, I'd have to look to see how many were a part of that as well. 13. So potentially if you invite, then you have the additional 13 applicants that would be added to that.
And not
timeframe.
everyone
everybody
always.
showed.
Yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to say 21 already responded. I was like, wow.
So I can send them the invite as well. I just did it only to the 22.
That's why I was asking.
So if that's what you guys decide, then we can go ahead and.
So does that need anything special other than just we desire to have all of our applicants, no matter where they are in the funding cycle,
Yeah, I
to be
think
the invite to see what they're doing?
We just amend this on the plan to clarify who's coming. It's not just the 22, 23 ones.
Okay.
And that could even be done just by differentiating, having one bullet for ARPA, and then one for the REACH CBF. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, or you could just combine them. I mean, that way we don't have to, either, whatever works out as easiest. So my other thing, and this goes to Commissioner Krish, your question about having a meeting just in October for the one item. Through this past cycle, I felt like we had talked about a few areas that we wanted to make improvements going forward. One was in the area of required documentation in the grant application. We had a few occasions where we were unclear, and it was more of an opinion rather than a clear guidance in our policy about if they didn't follow all the directions in the grant application, whether that would disqualify them or not. So I think at some point, and I don't know whether we can include it in a discussion in a meeting or whether we want to do a subcommittee or whatever, but I do feel like there's an opportunity for us to clarify that, and I think that would be helpful before we get into the next cycle. So again, the process is very transparent. No one's confused or feels like anyone got special treatment or whatever. And then the other item was, I think, clarifying our policy on visits or what interaction we can have during the application cycle. We had a few things about that, and I think maybe we lost a commissioner because of that, I don't know. But I think, again, there's an opportunity for clarity in us reviewing those and just making sure the intent behind it and then the actual application of the policy is consistent. So again, I don't know whether those would be opportunities to discuss in the October meeting. I'm totally fine pushing the report to a November meeting and covering that in another meeting. I'm not trying to lobby for another meeting. I do feel, though, that those two items should be addressed prior to us starting the next year's application cycle.
I have a question for Jonathan. Would those be items that would be discussed as part of the policy manual reviews?
So I think that's what we contemplated in the separate September 12th meeting agenda already, are all of those items, including the policy manual, grant guidelines, and application process. So if there's input that you want to bring and prepare for us to discuss at that time, that would be the meeting for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be the approach that I would prefer.
Me too.
Include it. Another meeting?
I don't want another meeting. I think I made that one clear.
Yes, you have, Commissioner Haywood.
I'm sorry, I'm being snarky a little bit. Sorry, apologies to everyone.
So if you could just make sure that it reflects the language in here in regards to what we want to do, those additional discussions as far as what the policies are. And there were a few things that came up during our discussions of the award recommendations that, yeah, I had some notes on that too, that we should probably ferret out a little bit. So now we can talk about October 10th?
Yeah.
It sounds like we're suggesting ending, not needing that meeting and pushing that item to the November agenda. And I don't know, since we're looking at this, that's not a formal motion that we need, but we would, when we actually approve it, we would say approve with.
With the edits. Yeah.
Is there any concern about that from anyone else? I know we've heard from a couple over there that are happy to.
I think it sounds great.
So do we, if we're, okay, so I answered my own question. Got it. I guess the question with the February meeting, I guess it's just, so there is an option, and this is an item that may end up coming out of our discussion in September, whether or not we end up potentially adding an agenda item in February or maybe March connected with the application / supporting documentation review, which is one of the items I think that Commissioner Ellison was alluding to, whether we wanted to combine that meeting with the meeting for the review and approve ARPA and your summary reports. Again, for the same, time savings, efficiency that we just discussed for the CBF REACH year-end summaries.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the discussion about required documentation, how I was envisioning it is we would clarify it on the front end. It would still be staff who would, and we can discuss this, but I mean, I'm thinking it would still be staff who would review and ensure that they are eligible, that the application has all the components and things. I think this past cycle, some didn't, but they were still determined eligible, but then we got into the discussion.
Right, because staff is not responsible for actually reviewing the grant applications themselves.
No, but attachments, did they, business license and things like that, we've been doing that. but
Right, but the item we were concerned about was
The quotes.
was the quotes.
Right.
And that would have required a look into the application itself.
Okay, so, and I'm totally.
And we can have that
Yeah.
discussion next month. I would love to put a placeholder in if we do decide to bring back the
Okay.
previous practice of having the entire commission
Okay.
look at these attached documents and the applications and make those decisions
Okay, and
as a
then-
commission,
and
whether
there-
to disqualify people.
And that would be in the February meeting, and they would be due on the 5th, so that gives enough time?
Well, no, we'd have to wait until after they're submitted. So maybe the March meeting would be better. But again, that's going to play into us getting doing our rating and rankings.
But if they're closed on the 5th and our meeting is the 13th, you don't think if we, as-
I mean, it's it's really up to staff if everything's in there.
Maybe it'd be helpful to provide a little preview about what we're likely going to recommend as staff with respect to the process coming up, and some of the edits that we're probably going to suggest in terms of the policy manual and how the applications and eligibility is determined. And so our thought process is to provide probably a more active role, and we're going to recommend that we create essentially a window of time, like a 30-day period from when the applications are due, and then from when you start reviewing them, where staff is going to take an even more active role in going through to make sure that the disqualifications and the eligibility determinations and reviewing all of the attachments and all of that happens internally, and that we also are going to recommend providing a process where we can offer to meet with applicants during that period if there are minor irregularities that they're able to shore up, if they, for instance, uploaded the wrong attachment. We'll work with them to try to fix those things. So it's a more robust pre-screening, pre-qualification process. And then when they get to you, it should be, here's the application as intended for you to review and whether or not you want to fund to this application or not, but to not have to get into the eligibility or disqualification process at all.
Awesome. Thank you. I was hoping we weren't going to go back to that. I walked away from that discussion going, oh no, we're going to have another meeting for that. And it was not pleasant. It was not fun.
So it sounds like then we wouldn't need the February meeting for that, if I'm interpreting what Okay. And then, just knowing that we switched the October meeting to not have a standalone item for that, I guess I have two concerns. Part of me wonders, do we want to have a standalone meeting in the spring for that? But also, it's kind of awkward timing, isn't it? Because some of those same applicants, some of those same
Right.
recipients could be applying.
And in the review process.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what I think, but I'm just noticing those things. So just observations.
Well, and also, if we're inviting them to come mid-cycle, I would argue in a way that they are providing us a summary, even though it's not the final report, they're at least giving us enough of an update to educate us on what they've been using the money for, and then fulfilling their requirements, their reporting requirements by actually submitting the report. So they're still getting in front of us and in front of the public, which is what the purpose of that presentation is. They just are doing it off-cycle because of the way the funds are closed. And they're still, even though they come, they're still responsible for submitting that report.
And this is only this one time, right?
Yeah.
We just have to get through this one time because now everybody's going to be at the same cycle. So we could even push this item into the similar November meeting in '24, right? Which would then
Or
just wrap them up with next one's coming in.
we could. And then the other thing is, and I know you guys just said it, oh, you told, okay. I just wanted to make sure, so if they're applying again for the spring cycle, they would have, one of their qualifications would have been, they had to get their report in, but it's December 31, so plenty of time before this coming cycle application is due. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it makes more sense. I don't know if staff has thoughts about that. Did you guys kind of anticipate maybe it would be a little awkward to have during our, okay. So I think pushing it out, whether we wait till November, possibly July, possibly another meeting. I
Right,
don't
we
know.
could push it to a later date after the decisions have been made as far as the funding, recommended funding, and after we're through the review cycle.
And keep in mind this, as it's agendized, we made specific in this item that this is an approximation. This calendar is subject to change. So once we approve it tonight, it's really just our working document. You're not bound by it. It can change as we see a need for it to change.
Good reminder, thank you.
Excuse me, I was going to ask, how much notice would the committee have to give if they wanted to change an agenda item for that?
It would likely happen at a meeting. So at a meeting, there'd be a discussion about a need for a date to change, to be added or removed. So normally it's about 30 days at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we landed with the February 13th meeting going away.
That's kind of what I was hearing.
That item, we'll just note that we could move that to a later date.
In the fall?
A similar placeholder as in maybe the
August
September or November meeting in the fall,
2024.
2024, yes.
Then I guess the main three things that we're agreeing on is getting rid of the October meeting and moving that agenda item to November, including the ARPA to present, and then pushing the February meeting to a fall 2024, date to be determined. Does that sound accurate? Okay.
Yep.
I did that all without notes, so.
Yay, good job.
Or I just forgot my pen, but, okay. Any other changes that we see that we want to address? No? Okay. And I look at staff, so before we make any motions, we open to public comments. Thank you. So I'll go ahead and open public comments. Seeing that there are none, I'll go ahead and close public comments and ask if anyone has any additional questions before we move to making a motion. No? Okay. And I can make the motion myself?
No.
No, thank you.
Make a motion to accept the work plan calendar for the 2024-2025 funding cycle with the revision to remove the agenda item for the October 10th meeting to the 7 p.m. meeting on November 14th, and to move the agenda item for the February 13th, 2024 agenda item to a future date.
To
And
include the ARPA.
The ARPA.
Oh, okay, so backing up, the agenda item for, moving the agenda item from October 10th to the 7 p.m. November 14th meeting, and we will be inviting the ARPA recipients to attend, as well as the CBF REACH recipients from the fiscal 22-23 funding year.
In the September meeting. Sorry.
Go ahead.
as edits, I will second the motion. And includes a correction of the July 11th and August 8th. Just clean up there as far as what we did.
Okay.
Do you want to make a motion to approve the calendar as discussed and described by the commission?
I'll make
Commissioner
that, I'll
Haywood did
move.
it.
You moved?
I'll move to.
And I'm
to-
seconding?
Yes.
And then I'm taking the vote? Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposition? Okay. Motion approved. Now we're moving to item 7 for Commissioner Staff Report. So opening up to the second public comment, an opportunity. None? All right, we'll close that. And we'll ask now city staff, city attorney, any updates or comments for us?
I do have one informational update. Council, in looking at the GAC process, noticed and sought to provide some clarity and maybe some realignment when it comes to the administration of the REACH fund and those applications, specifically with respect to the geographical eligibility. I think the original intent, as evidenced in some documents that we went through, was really to limit so that those funds would be administered to have an impact touching the Roseville community. And the way that the Muni Code is written currently, unfortunately, it's pretty nebulous in providing broader Placer County. So somebody in South Lake Tahoe could potentially apply and have no connection to the city of Roseville with their program or activity and potentially be awarded the funding from what is largely employee donations. So at the last council meeting, council started the process of amending the municipal code to replace the word Placer County with the city of Roseville, which now geographically aligns with the CBF, so that really the impact is to youths, families, and seniors within the city of Roseville. So that'll have its second ordinance reading at the next council meeting. And then when that's approved, that'll be part of the updated policy guidelines and eligibility documents.
Okay.
That'll affect a handful of people. Just I'll throw that out there just from historical perspective, just for the commission's knowledge. It won't have a huge impact on a majority of our applicants. There are a couple that are only Placer County and have come in over the years for REACH funds. So we may see some shifting in either the applications themselves or the people who are, the organizations applying.
Yeah, and I think that would be something good that we'll point out in the applicant workshop, because that will be a change, and we'll, even though we try to communicate that in various ways, it's still good to emphasize multiple times.
And also, just as a second checkpoint of transparency, if the process of review is more robust, there will be the opportunity for clarity at that point as well. So that's good. That'll be good.
Agreed.
Thank you.
The only thing I had to add was just to remind our 22 and 23 grant recipients that are watching or in the audience that their year-end reports are due August 31st via Zoom grants. I've received a few of those already, and they all have been invited, other than the ones that you guys have just talked about, as of August 2nd, to attend the September 12th meeting and do a presentation. Have not heard from any of the organizations yet. They do have till September 1st to RSVP, and I will go ahead and send that invite out tomorrow to the 22-23 ARPA recipients, fund recipients.
Thank you. Will that meeting be recorded?
Yes.
That's a nice one just to be able to use for other opportunities to promote what we're doing.
And to follow up on that, I'm working with our marketing team and social media to promote more. I actually just had a meeting today that come maybe November to really push more too for the applicants and when the application period opens in December. So I know photos were taken at our last meeting, and so it did go out into the notification of those that are signed up to get notification from the city. So we definitely put something out there. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like that's it for staff report. And next, asking our commissioners if there's any updates on committee activity.
As far as just general comments, I want to welcome our new commissioners. So it's exciting to have new faces here, and I'm sorry I missed your first meeting last time. And then just a reminder that we don't have any active applications right now, so until the application is released in December, we can be interacting with recipients, visiting. They will reach out, some will reach out to us, but we're not limited to wait till they reach out to us. If there's an organization you want to get more familiar with, you have kind of a limited window to do that, and this is between now and November roughly is the time to do that. So I know in my first year or two on the commission, I kind of felt like, I'd wait for the invitations to come to me, and I didn't know if I was overstepping by saying, hey, here's an organization I'm interested in learning more about. Should I reach out to them? But that's not a problem. So if you would like to do that, you certainly can. Reading the reports that they send in is great, and if that triggers something. And then for those watching who have been recipients in the past or would like to apply in the future, this is, again, the opportunity for us as grant commissioners to learn more about your organizations, because once the application is open, we won't be able to interact in that same way. So we would encourage you, if you have events or other opportunities where you want us to get to know you better, this is the time to do it.
And just a caveat to that, as an opportunity to remind of the Brown Act requirements, while it's true that you can interact at this point, please be mindful to not establish quorum or discuss Grants Advisory Commission business with multiple members so that we don't violate the Brown Act when we're out in the public.
Yes, thank you.
If you ever have any question, feel free to reach out.
Any other comments?
No, mine were just along the same lines. Take those opportunities where you can to get engaged with what's going on in the community, and welcome the two new commissioners. I missed the last meeting, so I wanted to welcome there. And then, and thank you for the work that you're doing, our youth commissioner. So know that sometimes we don't draw you into the discussions nearly as much as we could, but we do value your participation and encourage you to continue to stay engaged. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yes, you're here till at least October, maybe November. Well, I guess we just canceled the October meeting, but
September. She'll be here next month.
yes.
For
You're not dead.
the September presentation, she'll be here to it's
Yeah.
almost as good as the party you guys had last time when I wasn't here, so a check presentation, so.
I'd just like to maybe close, congratulating Commissioner Reed and Commissioner Parker in their new roles. Delighted that you both have agreed to so graciously to fill those roles, and looking forward to your leadership this grant cycle.
You're here.
Thank you all for the support.
Yeah.
Oh, you were going to say something?
Oh,
Go.
I was just going to say thank you for electing me vice chair. I appreciate that very much, and I will endeavor to earn it.
You've got help, right? So we're all good.
Wonderful. And now we'll go ahead and move to agenda item number 8. Do I have a motion for an adjournment?
I so move.
Go ahead. Commissioner Parker seconds.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No? Okay, so our next meeting is September 12th, and with the power invested in me, the Grant Advisory Commission meeting is adjourned at 6:11 PM. Thank you.
Thank
Wonderful,
you.
thank you.